of the fifth of our variations with songwriters. In journalism and academia and beyond. And we do basically things that aren't plays. And when I took over Public Forum from Jeremy McCarter, who founded it, the amazing Jeremy McCarter, he said, I'm a songwriter. So he said, I hope that you'll bring the discussion of the process of songwriting more into the public, because it's something that's not actually done that often, obvious as it might seem. So this program has been a way to bring a really amazing variety of songwriters into this building and get them in conversation with each other and really talk about process. Like, we literally had a conversation the other night that revolved around whether 1-4-5-1 songs are boring. And what's great is the two. Everyone we have has like 17 Nobel Prizes, so you have a program, so you should look at it or I'll forget all the amazing things they've done. But here we are. Hi guys.
Hi.
How are you all? So I'd like to start with an obvious question, but a good one, which is I'm really interested in origins, and specifically, like, I found that people have parents, and they have teachers, and they have uncles, and strange, like, adopted folk. Just where music came into your life first, but then specifically where the urge towards songwriting came into your life, or performing, or theater making, or album making, like whatever it is, but two different things, sort of where the songwriting has entered.
My aunt, so I'm from Somalia originally, and my aunt was very, very in Somalia. When she died, there was like a national mourning in the country, so that kind of a figure. And so she would be around the house just making songs and singing. And so I think that maybe that's where I sort of got the bug for songs. Except I tried to avoid doing music. For my teenage years, I didn't want to be a musician at all because it was the obvious thing to do. I wanted to like rebel and like be a doctor or something. Because I just knew my family and everyone that was around, it was the most expected thing for me to be like some kind of a songwriter or something.
How's your doctor career going? just on the side.
Yeah, no, not so well. Yeah, a lot of people are in pain over there.
You guys want to?
I would say my mom, she's a developmental psychologist, but she also loved writing songs, so she studied music and psychology, and she would always write songs about like my siblings and I growing up. She ended up like anything that we did, she would like make into a song, which was like horrifyingly annoying, but also very, very sweet at the same time.
Are there any examples that you remember, like one in particular you might want to bring up that's particularly embarrassing?
I mean, there's like,
because here at Forum we like to mostly embarrass people on stage.
I was just gonna say it's more embarrassing for my whole family. It's just a whole thing. But she's great. But she ended up actually making 5 albums of children's music when I was growing up. So like everything that I did, like my first steps, or like like being in a bathtub, or like any of these things, like became kids songs that I grew up listening to, and she would perform at like the synagogues and the JCCs, and there was a whole circuit going on while she had this developmental psychology career. So I grew up like going to these concerts and having my preschool friends or my first grade class, like my mom like hung out with Raffi back in the early 90s, like literally. So I think I observed like someone taking life moments and turning them into songs, and I think that had really big influence on me. And she doesn't really write very much anymore, but it's really, when we were growing up, she did a lot, and I think, that had a big, big impact.
My story is less interesting.
We don't, that's not,
You don't
all
judge her?
stories are equally interesting.
So,
except for the one you're about to tell.
yeah, exactly. So while his family was rocking like the synagogue circuit, my family was rocking like the tent revival circuit, and no, for real. And so I come from like a history of like my grandma and grandpa were in a traveling like gospel group. They would like go all around the U.S. like singing, okay, their last name is White, so they would call them the White Brothers, which is but it was like my grandpa and his brother and then their wives, and they would like, one played the tambourine, one played the organ, one played whatever. And then my parents, same thing. Like my dad was in his first job when he quit college was traveling around playing the organ in like a traveling gospel group. So like that's sort of like cool, like 50s, 60s, 70s Americana gospel sort of thing was like my family's history, and so I just sort of got into that when I was a young kid. And there's like pictures of me on stage at like age 3, like on a stool, like singing like gospel songs. Like, I didn't even know what the words meant, but I was just singing them. And yeah, that's sort of how I got into it. And then in terms of writing, I never really wrote music until we started writing together, which was in college. So sort of a long time until then. But I always loved playing and singing and all that.
How did you? I guess then I would say, what was the way you guys found each other? Because that's really, I mean, how partner where you guys have worked you've worked only with each other in the experience that I've seen. So I say that with like it's unusual. There's a lot of promiscuous people in this business, right? So how you met and also how the spark happened in that collaboration.
Well, we went to college together. We met literally the first day of orientation. We went to the University of Michigan, and we were musical theater majors there. So we went to be like dancers and singers and actors and stuff.
So it has not worked out.
It did not work out. Literally the reason that we became friends is that we were like the worst two ballet dancers in our entire class.
We would hide behind each other to try to not be seen, and yeah.
Like the first day we showed up, and like we did not realize we were just clueless. We didn't know that people wore like tights and like proper things like dance belts and stuff. We were wearing like sweatpants and loose like. You know where those And One? You guys remember And One? That brand that was with a zipper like pants. That's what we were. Like basketball pants. And so we were really terrible dancers and pretty bad actors too. And so we sort of started to like sort of hang out and just like mess around at a piano, just like playing music and stuff. But then our sophomore year of college, when we thought finally we'll be like good, we'll get some good roles and start like becoming accomplished actors, even though we couldn't dance, we got cast in our school show. We were cast as like terrible roles.
In City of Angels, I was cast as Man with Camera, and Justin was cast as
Arlen Yamato, who was supposed to be an Asian coroner
/ backup dancer.
Yeah. And so at that moment we were sort of like, this is terrible.
Like not a single threat to be found.
Yeah.
You know, the triple threat. So we were like, we need to invent our own threat. We need to be threatening in some way.
So we started writing. We wrote like our own little review of songs called Edges. That was like our sophomore year of college, and that sort of set us on that path instead of being actors.
I'm going to ask one more question of you guys, and then I have a question about your failed doctor career. But Edges, then, I guess I would say, what was besides the inspiration of your lack of any threats at all, because Edges, people do Edges a lot still, I think. I mean, I know it, and it's out there. Not that many things written by sophomores in college. How would you describe Edges, like the impulse to it, in terms of what the emotions? Because there's a lot going on in that.
Yeah.
It's like a theatrical song cycle is the way I can describe it. But just could you tell me a little bit about the songs you wrote back then?
Yeah, so like we were sophomores and we were studying musical theater and we were studying like what an actor needs in a song to make it inherently theatrical. So we were in these performance classes and they would say like, okay, as an actor, what does your character want? Who are they talking to? What's in the way? What tactics are you employing? Like all that kind of stuff. And so we were like, you know what? Like if we're gonna write songs, how would we write songs that we could bring into a performance class and that an actor could do really, really easily? So we would kind of just reverse that process. So we, the first songs in Edges, I mean, really Edges was written because we didn't know how to write a book musical, and we were like, this can be a show because it's just songs, And then we took like life moments that we were observing about college and like the heartache of like self-discovery and all that kind of stuff that you think is like really meaningful at 19. And then we just wrote 13 songs originally. But yeah, just sort of reversing that process. So like a really good example of the second song that we ever wrote we were like, okay, there are all these songs about.
We were in class. We talked about like all these songs that we were in. It was like it's all like we started like Corner of the Sky or like these songs like that. And it's like they're all like songs about like young people with dreams. You know, that's sort of like writing those hopeful I want songs. And so we, like, in our very crude manner, literally wrote a song called Boy with Dreams. Which is like zero subtext whatsoever. Literally the tag phrase was, I'm a boy with dreams.
But like, you gotta start somewhere, Michael.
I have I'm 41, and I have a thing I'm writing right now, which is literally a song where the only title we can come up with is, I Want.
Yes.
There you go.
It's like, we have to change this title. Yeah. So you did not become a doctor. It's a segue. When did you give up on the dream of rebelling and not becoming, given that you are now a singer-songwriter in all the ways that I know, what made all your dreams die and you had to give up to become the like boring, predictable career of a singer-songwriter?
Yeah. Well, I guess it was becoming an immigrant was the sort of deciding factor because they were.
Do you mind just talking a little bit about that experience and how that like?
Well, I mean, it was I guess everybody here knows that Somalia fell into turmoil in the 90s, and I was a little boy there and became a refugee to come here, and. At that point, I think the thing that I loved about being in my country was how significant the language is in Somalia, how important poetry is to the Somalis, which is such an odd thing people don't know anything about. But Somalis really love poetry. They actually. Weirdly, if you are to be a judge in a court of law by Somali law, you cannot be a judge unless you have a poetry background. Because you have to see things in a different way. It's very important to them, and so language was important to me, and poetry was, and suddenly I can't speak. I can't speak a language at all. I'm deaf and mute in this country because I didn't speak English at all until I was 14, and so I had to kind of just really try to absorb the language and pick up as much as I can, and then I saw that I was immediately sort of giving language back into itself, writing melodic, poetic ideas. It was my way of navigating the alienation of being an immigrant, and when all things are lost, sort of how do you become a magnet for all the things you can absorb back to rebuild yourself. And it was, for me, it was through writing and songs.
What were your first songs like, or what was the sort of how would you describe that the early work you were doing?
Well, I guess my very first songs were I had this knack for writing about dark things because I needed to make them sweeter. I needed to revisit certain things and difficult things, but make them poppy and melodic and sweet, and so that actually people who heard my first music could not tell it was about war. It was just like, oh, it's so sweet, this melody. But it was because I needed to put a little sugar on the experience. And so my first music was that kind of stuff. So like the first record I ever made or put out was an album called The Dusty Foot Philosopher. And it was just detailing very hard experiences, but saying them in a way that was digestible for me. And then therefore it became sort of digestible for other people to. Otherwise it would just be brutal. It would just be like hat on a hat, difficult experience, difficult, way of listening. But I guess I sort of tried to make it, put a little bit of sugarcoating on.
It was like somebody wrote once about Mozart that there are these dangerous and often brutal ideas, but because they're hidden inside so much beauty, that you sometimes just miss them, or at least that you don't realize that they've, or worse or better, they've gotten inside of you and you didn't even notice it, which is that spoonful of sugar.
So it makes me think of, someone said that Miles Davis played the way that he wished he were, not the way that he was.
Do you think that, here's the flip of a question about this I never knew, the judges and poetry. Do you feel like that means that whether in Somalia or in your own work, that in some ways politics is therefore intrinsically, I would say if poetry has to be worked into justice, then does justice and politics automatically get worked into poetry and song in a way that maybe that we don't always take for granted? I don't know, that's off the top of my head.
No, that's a good question. I've always been sort of accused of making music that has politics in it.
Accused, I would
never
non-accusatorially say your songs sometimes seem political to me, but you know.
It wasn't something I was conscious of, and I could never answer those questions in a very honest way in interviews when people say, you're a political artist, what are you talking about? For me, it's not obvious. For me, it was trying to find melodies and words that help you navigate the mess of the world we've made, which politics has made. And so then the work that comes out of it, for it to be called political, it feels a little almost like a diss, because it's the work that is trying to escape that world which was created for us.
I wonder if we might look at a song. Do you mind? Can we look at?
Fine.
Yeah.
I thought these guys with all the hit songs were going to play something right now.
I just felt like we have Colin Smith here. Where are you, Colin?
Colin is a friend of mine who's going to come up and play the guitar for me. Well, yeah, I'll just pull up.
I was thinking we could listen to it.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't think you guys might rear.
Somebody's gonna get the rear, so.
And actually, while we were sound checking, he was saying he wished he wore his underwear today. So good luck.
Welcome to Public Forum at Goes Pop.
So I guess this is an example of that.
That was the segue. That was the good segue I was doing.
You were very clever.
Yeah.
This is a song about. So I had this childhood friend who I really liked. Everybody liked. She was a very beautiful and she spoke English when we were back in Somalia. It was one of those kind of unique kids, and we were very close. I was 13, 12, and she was the same age. And this is not at all a sad story, or it is a sad story, it's not a sad song, I hope. But she was killed when I left, and it took me about 15 years to be able to revisit that memory and make a song about her, and her name was Fatima. Picture the morning, taste and devour. We rise early, pace up the hour. Streets is bustling, hustling, they hard out. You can't have the sweet with no sour. Spices, herbs, the sweet scent of flower. She came out precisely the hour. Clouds disappear, the sun shows the power. No chance of a probable shower. I fell in love with my neighbor's daughter. I wanted to protect and support her. Never mind, I'm just 12 and a quarter. I had dreams beyond our border. Is it true when they say all you need is just love? Is it true? And what about those who have loved only to find that it's taken away? And why do they say that the children have rights to be free? And what about those who I've known, whose memory still lives inside of me? Fatima, what did the young man say before he stole you away on that fateful day, Fatima. Fatima, and did he know your name or the plans we made to go to New York City, Fatima? And after school we study the lessons. I asked God to slow down the seconds. He does the opposite, that's what I'm guessing. I better chill and count my own blessings. Fatima, Fatima, what is the matter? How come you ain't come up the ladder so we can be like this, go tomorrow? Damn, you gon' make me wait till tomorrow. She spoke Arabic and Swahili. She'd say Upendo anta habibi. You so bright, you shine like my TV. Then one day she never came to meet me. Is it true when they say all you need is just love? Is it true? And what about those who have loved only to find that it's taken away? And why do they say that the children have rights to be free? And what about those who I've known, whose memory still lives inside of me? Fatima, what did the young man say before he stole you away on that fateful day, Fatima? And Fatima, did he know your name or the plans we made to go to New York City, Fatima? If beauty was in the eyes of beholder, how come everyone hushed when she walked by? How come girls would look just to scold her? How come the angel wanted to hold her? Fatima, Fatima, I'm in America. I make rhymes and I make them delicate. You would have liked the parks in Connecticut. You would have said I'm working too hard again. Damn you shooter, damn you the building whose walls hid the blood she was spilling. Damn you country so good at killing. Damn you feeling for persevering. Is it true when they say all you need is just love? Is it true? And what about those who have loved only to find that it's taken away? And why do they say that the children have rights to be free? And what about those who I've known, whose memory still lives inside of me? Fatima, what did the young man say before he took you away on that fateful day, Fatima? And Fatima, did he know your name or the plans we made to go to New York City, Fatima?
Out there. He's super great. I was going to ask one question, but that made me actually lead to another question, which is about, which I'd love to start asking you a question about Fatima and then actually move to you guys about hooks, which is like the confusing, like, it's like one of the dirty little secrets of songwriting where like, it's a way that, you know, like people accuse certain songs of like, it's just a good hook. And you're like, yes, but a truly great. Rivers Cuomo, who is from Weezer, the band, has, I was talking to him once and he has like notebooks full of just hooks that like, it's like 4 notes or like 4 notes and 2 random syllables where like one day he'll be like, now I know what song that belongs in. But he was like, that's the hard part, is the, and I guess where, I'd love to talk just about the process of writing that song in a technical way. You sort of talked about the inspiration for the song, but where did the song, what part of the song, just what did you write first? Or what came to your mind? Was it Fatima? Was it the chorus? Was it some part of it? Was it the whole thing? I'm interested just in...
I can't remember exactly for this song in particular. I just remember though singing that idea. My friend, one of my closest friends is this guy Ray, who's also from Somalia. He's in my band, and we were in Jamaica working on a record. And you know, I tend to stay up all hours of the night. And he woke up, and I'm up and sitting there, and I said, I have this little idea. And Fatima, what did the man say? And do you like it? He's the person I always check against, which I want to ask you guys if I get a chance to.
You can ask him. I mean, that's why we're on stage together.
But, so I just remember like that part, the part that germinated the story was for me asking Fatima if the guy who, you know, killed her knew that we had plans to come here. You know, just like, so asking her a question to ask a guy who was the triangle of melody or thought that made me write the song.
Well, the impossibility of that is what makes. I mean, it's a great chorus, but the way the story doesn't resolve, and also you can't ask. That's a question you could never ask, and also of all the questions to ask, it's such a. I hate to say like such a strange and small one of someone who's getting killed, and I say that I think it's what makes it powerful. If you were asking her, Fatima, did he think about the huge political repercussions of murder? Like, no, in the sense of, it would be a better question and a worse song. I say that, but like, that's why lyrics are so weird.
And that's why hooks are exactly what makes us enter into someone's universe, is those hooks. You give someone permission to come and join you in your journey, but without a hook, it's without a locomotion, without...
Wow.
I want to go sit at one of these tables and just... I want to be more like this.
Yeah, you agreed to be up here and now you're stuck. I'm interested, I want to ask you guys about just the process of working together, because I'm like a weird solid, like, I'm fascinated by this, but specifically I'd be interested in hooks. I think we're going to look at one song from Dervin Hansen that is like, in my mind, like a series of amazing things happen. Hook, again, hook is such a negative term sometimes, but I use it like beautiful things happen in that way. I'm just interested though where those things come from, or if you could talk about, so I have 9 questions. Basically, I'm interested in hooks, and then I want to ask sort of what your process of working together is, and maybe we can lead up to Waving Through a Window, if that feels like a great song to ask about process. So,
yeah, sure.
hooks and process and go. Dervin Hansen, go.
So, what's interesting, we can talk about it more, but that song actually was the same song with a different chorus and a different hook. That was not good, not what it was supposed to be, but that was an interesting process because we had written the song and written a different chorus, and it still wasn't just, we weren't satisfied with it, and so we actually rewrote the chorus totally different. Same chords actually, but a new thing, and then it worked much better. But in terms of that hook, or finding that thing that we keep coming back to, I know it sort of feels like a dirty. Oh, I'm getting. I didn't know my iPad was connected. It's sorry. You
can write the back if you want.
Yeah, it is as sort of thought of as a dirty word, but I mean, if you think about the great songs that you love that are pop songs or singer-songwriter, or even a lot of theater songs, there is sort of that central, whether it happens in the chorus or at that perfect moment in the chorus, or it's the first phrase of the song that keeps coming back, there usually is that one sort of, that idea, that sort of tree trunk that always takes you throughout the song, and how do you keep finding your way back to it, because that's the thing that feels familiar and gets lodged in our heads, not in just a superficial way, but also I think it means something to be able to write a song that keeps coming back to the same idea, or taking that idea and refracting it, or reapproaching it from a different angle, or thinking about the opposite of it in a bridge, or that kind of thing. But like it is a grounding thing, I think, for a song.
Janine Tesori was talking about the thing about a hook that really works in a musical, is that it can come back later with new emotion, like that if you're thinking over 2 hours with an intermission, especially like a hook that you set up, but something that people remember when it comes back much later in the game. Opera uses this all the time. Like, says a motif that then when it comes back has all the resonances it had back there, and now also has 2 more hours of whatever.
And plus, if you put it in somebody else's mouth, then it has that much more interesting.
And also like in the Beatles in like A Day in the Life, what is amazing when finally I Read the News Today comes back at the end after the whole crazy McCartney middle section. It's so moving because you're like, oh right, that song was happening like 3 minutes ago, and then it does the same thing. I don't know.
Everyone knows what he's talking about.
I think, like, very technically, this is a crude way to think about songs, but think sometimes we think about them like the 5-paragraph essay that you had to write in high school. And if you
Marty Kerr.
Right?
Thanks, Marty Kerr.
But you think like, what's your thesis statement? And that's kind of like your hook. So if in a theater song's job is to continue to progress. So this is like another way that we think about like pop songs as like kind of adjectives. They're about a feeling, and theater songs as verbs. They're always about progressing the story forward. And if you think about it like that, that means that your thesis statement, you need to repeat it, but that the next paragraph that you get to that thesis statement, it needs to have different material, and then that still needs to come back to support
the
that
evidence
thesis
changes,
statement.
but then you can always come back to
It keeps
and
moving.
therefore. Yeah.
And yeah, it's a therefore, but it keeps, it's like a shark. If it stops swimming, it dies as a theater song, so you need to just keep moving forward. So you want to find that phrase that can keep being relevant after new information is deposited again and again and again.
And in terms of process, for us, that is usually where we start. We usually...
A title.
Yeah, as we're starting to write a song, we're sort of looking at the script, looking at the moment, what that character has to say, what we want the song to do, and we always work in tandem with a book writer and try to lead to that moment together. And if there's a scene already, great, or a monologue already, great. If there's not, we can at least sort of talk through what that moment wants to be. But then the first thing that we'll do is spend a lot of time just coming up with hook phrases or title phrases, things that we feel like that says what we want the song to say, what we want that character to say, and we feel like it's worthy of to continue coming back to it, and then we'll try to musicalize that. And then once we've done that, and like have sort of a version of a chorus, unless it's at the beginning of the verse or something like that, we'll try to sort of musicalize that, and that will sometimes dictate the tone for the rest of the song. It's sort of like, okay, we know where we're going to get to.
Can I ask, when you guys are working on, that process of you have a title, so the title sort of gives you the concept or story behind something. Is the title from, is it just the book, or do you think about what angle?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Okay.
It's like when he was just singing that song, I think it's the same exact process that we do. It's just in the context of a larger story. But we're thinking like, your song is asking a question, like you're playing a character. You're asking a question to a person, trying to get a response. So we're always like, you could say, your song could be called like, "Do you feel bad about my friend?"
Be very straight.
Right. But then you think, we always try to find what's the angle or what's the way of saying it that feels so specific and so like unique that it comes at it from like not directly saying the point, but it comes from the angle of the story, and the specificity of who you're speaking to.
So that's the hidden secret of songwriting, is that you also have to be smart.
Or persistent, or you just keep coming up and find something that works.
You just break them down. I hadn't actually thought about it in the context of Fatima, which is also that you aren't saying, Fatima, how did you feel?
Right.
And you aren't addressing it to, young man, how did you feel? What did you say when you did? You are asking a question that, like, it's amazing how it's really complex, the kind of the number of people involved in the questions of that chorus, which then makes it. It's also that I feel like I have to think about it the first time, so that when it comes back each time, I have a new way of processing it, which is the hardest part. I kind of to not give it all, like have a hook in a chorus that doesn't give away.
Right. It makes me think though, because in a musical, you almost, if it's good, that's what the kind of work one has done. Because you could make it so that in a musical, because it's a journey and a story, you don't actually have to have an angle. You could make it really bad and just say, that person is saying to you, this is what I'm doing. And that next person is saying, but that's what makes it something special, I think. And like, for example, in your work, is the angle in which that thought process leads an audience to feel at once at ease, and like it's simple, I'm being told a story, but actually there's a lot of thought that went into which avenue the story is coming from.
And what's heightened, it's not just dialogue set on music. Like to create a song that I think it pops, it's not just, it's not like an opera. I mean, there's some examples that do that, but for us, I think we're trying to write songs, and that song has to be from a heightened perspective.
I'd love to talk then about, specifically to leap to, there's so many questions I have, but to talk about maybe the process of writing Waving Through a Window from Dear Evan Hansen, and if you wanted to talk a little about, you talked about how important book writers are. I'm interested in what Stephen Levinson sort of brought to specifically maybe that song or the way you were thinking about that story, or not. Yeah. And then also, I am interested in like, what was the failure of the original hook? Like what, even just...
We can show you.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be, but also, yeah, I'm interested in like, what didn't happen, or what mistakes did we make that's great on the way to something we feel proud of.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's a couple things that went into it. So I think when we had written it, Stephen had written in the voice of the character. I don't know if any of the stuff that is in the show now was there that led to it or anything. We sort of knew this moment was going to be for this character to express himself, and it wouldn't necessarily be led up to as much as other songs in the show by very specific dialogue. What we did know is that we felt really weird writing a song that was supposed to be in the place of sort of like an I want song for a character. And it really wasn't an I want, it was sort of like, I feel like I don't have these things. It was not really like I want. I mean, it expressed the want, you get the want of the character, but it wasn't so much like, and I'm gonna get to Santa Fe at some point, you know what I mean? It's you know what I'm saying? Like,
that's amazing how many musicals want to get to Santa Fe, like 3 or 4.
I mean, like, those are such great songs, or Corner of the Sky. It's like, it's very clear what the person's looking for. Ours, we didn't, speaking of angles, we sort of wanted to do it not, we felt it wouldn't be true to the character to be like, I want to fit in, I want to find my place.
So to do that, you just take the opposite approach. To say, like, what's the opposite of I want to belong? Well, that's I feel invisible. And then you think, okay, how do you...
But that conveys some want and yearning in the music, so it's not just like a sad, miserable song. It's sort of, you feel the maybe very dampened optimism of the character, that you feel that there's still that want and yearning in the drive of the music, and to match it with a person saying, I don't feel like I fit in, you know what I mean? But there's still that drive of them saying, but I want to, that's sort of churning underneath it. So the characters spoke really fast and a lot, and so we started writing it, like we thought once we go inside his head, it's like maybe a more calm place for him, and so it starts with just like quick little phrases, short phrases, with little breaks in between. And then we wrote a different chorus for it.
After?
Yeah. He wants to play the better one first, that's all. Yeah, I mean, we can just...
Or we could all have a vote. You can play both and then we can get a...
I
know the show's running, but we can put in other version tomorrow.
Yeah.
Imagine if you guys were like, so Ben Platt, tomorrow you're going to be singing a different...
You'd be really excited about that.
Tweet you right back. While we're setting up, I would like to order a rye Manhattan on the rocks, if you will let me do that. Before you start, does anybody else want to drink? Are you sure? I mean, I'm going to...
You're not going to sing, right? So
I'm not singing.
Or
I'm like a little under the weather. So is there like a rum toddy situation? Like something that's like, you know, like whatever you would give to a sick person that's still drinking alcohol. That's what I want.
Thank you so much.
Can I have a Shirley Temple? I'm not trying to be cute, I'm Muslim, we're not allowed to drink, so I would love a Shirley Temple, just to look like I'm a part of something.
I want you to be a part of something.
You ordering something? No, I'm good. Go with the water. Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything else to say? I don't really know. We'll do it. Okay.
I've learned to slam on the brake before I even turn the key, before I make the mistake, before I lead with the worst of me. Give them no reason to stare, no slipping up if you slip away. So I got nothing to share, no, I got nothing to say. Step out of the sun if you keep getting burned. Step out of the sun because you've learned. On the outside, always looking in, will I ever be more than I've always been? Cause I'm tapping on the glass, I'm waving through a window. I try to speak but nobody can hear, so I wait around for an answer to appear while I'm watching people pass. I'm waving through a window. Can anybody see really crash or even make a sound? When you're falling in a forest and there's nobody around, do you ever really crash or even make a sound? When you're falling in a forest and there's nobody around, do you ever really crash or even make a sound? When you're falling in a forest and there's nobody around, do you ever really crash or even make a sound? Will I ever make a sound? Will I ever make a sound? It's like I never made a sound. Will I ever make a sound? On the outside, always looking in. Will I ever be more than I've always been? 'Cause I'm tap, tap, tapping on the glass. I'm breathing through a window. I try to speak, but nobody can hear. So I wait around for an answer to appear while I watching people pass. I'm waving through a window. Can anybody see? Is anybody waving back at me? Is anybody waving?
Justin just saved me because I forgot to sing the high part of the song, so he started singing because he knew
I was like, he
he
was like, I'm not gonna sing. Then I was like, he is like MVP.
Yeah. So I was like, I can't sing it right now. Yeah.
But can I say something before we hear the shitty version?
Yeah. Which we've never actually sung out loud.
It's terrible
ever.
if you've been like that.
That was the yeah.
One thing that I hadn't really thought about, and I've seen the show, I guess, twice.
Yeah.
Until the big key change, you guys do a brave and, to me, amazing thing, and I say that because I did never notice it until now, where I was now being like, I was now thinking on my songwriter brain, and this opposed to my like that's amazing songwriting. You don't go to other key areas, and I say that with like, it sits in one key area. You know how songs sometimes you're like, and now we're gonna get to the beat part, and we're gonna just modulate by a third because I'm scared that I'm bored. And I say that with like, what's amazing to me is how much variety you find, and it's a character who's stuck so that there's something, so that until you get to that big key change to B flat, you were in A flat, and you're in B flat again. Am I right?
Yes, yeah, well, in the show, we go to A to B flat. In the Benj Pasek performance, we go A flat.
Still couldn't nail it.
Wow, secrets. I just am like, you know, that's not a question as much as just something I noticed about the song, which is like, you guys stay there for a long time, and it means when the key change happens, it's like take off your pants and throw things at the, at the singer.
What?
Well, I was just gonna say, like, this song in general, like our approach for Evan Hansen is really different than anything I think that we've tried to write in a theater context before. Because one of the big things that we wanted to try to do was try to write songs that sounded like what the characters would be listening to. And so there's a lot more like pop idioms that are happening and a lot more pop like style of writing, which would mean like, for instance, the chorus doesn't progress lyrically at all. And so usually in a theater song we would progress the chorus lyrically, or usually we would probably have more variation melodically or in chords. But like I think we try to be conscious we were very conscious of when we were working with our creative team of this doesn't feel like it could sustain on stage if it were just this and the character were just singing this. But we know that in the context of the show, first there's a scene that comes in between, so that breaks it up a little bit and helps progress action. But there's also like a ton of visual, so social media is kind of coming alive behind the character, and it keeps escalating. So like we talk about like a song continuing to progress, the verb of this song, it's not the responsibility in this song of the lyric or the music, it's the responsibility of the moment on stage.
Like everyone working together. I think we sort of had moments in the show where you're like, this is going to be just a moment that we're going to take on the whole burden of keeping the story going. And then we wanted to have moments where it was, we're going to take it certain places, and then we need the rest of the team to sort of all keep taking that places. Because if we had gone too many crazy places, it would have, I think, broken out of what we felt like was like, this is the sort of pop-influenced world that Evan's in.
What's so crazy about musicals is you are not, and Stephen Levinson, your amazing collaborator, but also Michael Greig and David Corrins, I think of, and your amazing design team, which is, not to mention your performers.
Yeah.
I think I've now named everybody, so no.
Everybody.
Is anyone angry at me? No, but then we don't think of, when we talk about how musicals are constructed, we don't think about set designers.
Right.
Coming up with solutions that might tell, where you could be like, the song isn't telling the story, the set's telling the story,
Right.
and the song needs to go to a different emotional place.
But the only way that we could get away with this in a theater song is if the burden was carried out by the performer, by the director, by the scene in the middle, and by the visual. If you just saw that song on stage and he was just performing that down center, it would fall flat after, I think, the second chorus.
Do you want to talk about the failed song? Do you want to just tell us what was the original chorus's conception? Maybe that's all I want.
Yeah, I mean, it was, so before we came up with the idea of waving through a window and all of that, the song was called Infinite Island. And it was like, it's about loneliness and about like being on this infinite island, and that's actually like, in getting to that idea, it's how we got to the idea of anybody waving back at me. Like, and from that idea, then I think we reverse engineered, like, well, that's the want. Like, the want is anybody waving back at me, but how is another way to express that? Well, then we thought, okay, if you're on the outside looking in, then how do you make that literal? And then like the waving through a window is the metaphor for social media and also the sense of being isolated. So that was kind of the path.
Infinite Island.
Can I just say, I think it's a really fucking good song.
I put that off the team too.
So it's interesting, but we still like this, the waving thing, like it was still
like,
part of that, but it was like, yeah, I can sort of sing, I mean, I can't really sing it right now, but it led to the exact same way. It was like, understand because you learn, standing on the edge of an infinite island, and shouting at the wind, I wave my hands. Oh, hanging off the edge of an infinite island. Every word all the same. And then it was like, maybe across the sea, someone on the infinite island is waving back at me. So I got back to that.
The waving. Yeah. But the window. I mean, if I heard this is for them, not the windows are more concrete, like him waving through a window.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the obvious part, which is I'm going to say the improvement, but the improvement feels like it moves from a kind of abstract metaphor to one that is very, very visceral and real.
And hopefully you can also take it, like when you're watching the show, like a lot of people have said to us, like, wait, is that about like my phone? And like it's supposed to be in a way, you know what I mean? Like it's all about social media, so it's like the waving the metaphor of it, but it's also you're watching the world pass by you literally, like on an Instagram feed.
But also, I think there was something that we were interested in. This is like getting into too nerdy territory, I think. But like, there was something that was too like formless and amorphous about it. That there was something that felt very sad about someone singing the words, just going, on the outside, always looking in, will I ever be more than I've always been? It's like this sort of sad rut. You know what I mean? This sort of like thing that it's just like, this is the mantra and this is what it always is. And so I think we were interested in him saying something on music that was just like, it was just like, it's the same thing every day. Like there's no variation. You know what I mean? Like that felt more sad, I think, for that character than just the, like this sort of weird cry or something.
I'm in a brutal segue. Ken, I wanted to ask, but I'm interested in that from actually all of you, but I got to know your music originally through the song Waving Flag. Because it was everywhere, it's amazing. It was like in Coca-Cola commercials, but it was everywhere. And I'm just always interested in, there's that great Tennessee Williams phrase about the catastrophe of success. And I'm interested in what you had been a successful singer-songwriter before, but that I feel like was very sudden. And I'm just interested in what that experience, I'm just in like, what was that like? Catastrophic, amazing, something in between, like to write a song that suddenly becomes an anthem. The song's an anthem, but I'm interested in what that felt like as a performer or as a writer.
Well, I actually wrote an essay that appeared in the New York Times about
what I wanted to ask.
About that exact thing. It was, this song that kind of gets out of hand and like it becomes a hit everywhere, and I so I felt like I was being dragged by it, like, you know, like imagine like tied up and just be dragged on the ground as the song is on a horse just taking off. And it was a part of it was like the price of your dream, you know. Because I'm a very, I like anonymity, which is why I live in New York, and I really, you know, I price highly the artist's sort of place of observation. And you know, here I was, I made few records before that, and I had a little audience, and I could go and play my shows, and that was fun. And then this song blows up, and it becomes the theme song for the World Cup, which is ridiculous. And then suddenly, so everything has changed, and I found that for me, I was curious about people, and that's how I wrote songs. I like to watch people, but then suddenly people are watching you back, and it's a little crazy. It's disorienting. You know, you write from a place that is now invaded entirely, and so I don't know. It wasn't the happiest time of my life having a hit song. I don't recommend it.
I guess then I would ask, in terms of writing, what got you out of it, but what did you find?
A series of events in which I shot myself in the foot
That's
on purpose to get out of the spotlight. One of which was writing that essay, which was, you know, there was a follow-up record that had a bunch of what seemed like hit songs to my record label, and I wrote this essay that basically said, "Don't buy this album." and then it
How
just,
did the record label feel about that?
yeah, they took it very well, as you can imagine. And then so I just started writing screenwriting, just to kind of be the guy behind things rather than the guy in front of things. And actually, it was on this stage that I, you know, did, like a couple of years ago, I did a residency here, and I was on this stage, and that was the first time I sort of got back on stage from like standing in front of a stadium full of people. It was, I really prefer my life now. You know, I like walking around and having a coffee and people not screaming like they're crazy. You know, which, you know, I knew I wasn't cut out for fame when I walked through a mall in Toronto, and there were these 16-year-old girls that were, I think, on a high school trip. And there's about 50 of them, and they saw me, and this waving flag is, you know, everywhere at this point. And they scream, shrilling scream out of, and I just stood there and watched them, and I said, "What's wrong?" so I don't know. Anyway.
I think you are working on a theater piece. Is this correct?
That's why I'm partly here, learning from these guys.
No, that's part of what's been so delicious this week, has been watching the interplay of just how process is so different. I mean, I guess I would say process is so different for everybody, and also like on some, like the shooting yourself in the foot part, I guess, is the same for everyone. I'm interested though in what the challenges of in a way, single or song making versus album making versus theater story making, and also, yeah, just how that is different, and also maybe specifically, like, you have, as far as I know, written a lot on your own voice, and while certainly I've seen plenty of covers of songs you've done, your voice is the way I feel like it's the major delivery system of those songs. So what might it be like to then write, like, in terms of thinking about that, I'm interested in that challenge.
That's very interesting. I'm just just feeling my way into what it's like to write a musical. This is a very, it sounds like a name drop, but it isn't. I read, so when Lynn, who I did something for Hamilton mixtape, when Lynn found out that I was making a musical, he said, "Of course, it's like the best of your superpowers." That was really interesting. Because I wrote story. I always wrote story. I always thought of, like, you know, if team is, the engine is a story. You know? And then I was writing screenplays, which are a story. And and the music for me is the thing that we have the least defense, emotional defense against. And so to tell a story in which a character is seeing what's happening to them and that journey, I just feel like what an amazing thing to be able to do. And when it works like nothing else, But I don't know if mine works yet. I'm working on it. We'll see. But I'm working here at the Public with Oscar, and it's been incredible and fun, and I'm learning. Yeah.
Do you have a song from it? I think you said. Or am I making this
But it's
up?
not a full. It's not a full
fine.
song. It's
That's we already saw their very terrible.
Actually, I don't think that was terrible. You need to play a real terrible.
I'm going to say something. I would not say, if I thought it was terrible, I'd be like the very fine chorus that they removed for reasons I can't possibly figure out.
But before we get to your song, the Waving Through the Window song, it's like you say that it would have fallen flat, and this is interesting about musical songwriting. You say that on stage that song, because it doesn't go anywhere, like progress story-wise, it would fall flat on its face. You say, but as a pop song, it's just a great song. It would work. It sounds like something, I don't know if you ever listened to it, but it sounds like something Tracy Chapman would sing, So on its own, it's something, but then...
But when you watch a jukebox musical, it's amazing how when you watch a bad jukebox musical and you're like, I love this song, this is a great song, why is this failing? And it's not the song's fault.
But even when you go see any pop performer, like you see like Beyonce, she's like writing pop songs, there's such theatrics of what's happening on stage. Like there are dancers, there's...
He can hardly speak, he's just talking about
I'm so overwhelmed. No, but like any... It's true. Queen to queen. But like if you go to her concerts, like there is amazing choreography and amazing visuals that you're watching.
Fireworks and
Right. And there are certain moments that maybe she'll just sing a song like without anything, but they're very few and far between because the songs don't you want to listen to them. You don't want to watch them.
Right.
And there's a real difference between what you want to watch and what you want to listen to.
But also the stakes are different. For a concert, people are there, and they're there for a song, right? And they can do whatever they want. They can move around, they can get drinks. But for theater, Oscar and I talk about this a lot, is that what's so hard about making good theater is that every single member of the audience has to decide to go on the same ride together. And if you're not on the ride, then it fails. It's really hard to make good theater because it's just everyone has to be on the same ship. And then when theater is not working, it's more awkward than anything else. Because in a movie, you could just watch a movie, you're on your own. But in a story with theater, you just sort of, there's this agreement, silent agreement that we're all going on this journey together.
But when that contract does work, which is when you sit down and
So
Evan Hansen begins, or Hamilton begins, or for God's sake, Hello Dolly begins, and you feel three amazing and very different shows, you feel that feeling of twice, which is the show begins and the audience gives it the permission, which is we are here, it is getting dark. And then like 15 minutes later when the bigger permission clicks in, which is like, this show is going to surprise me and do that stuff, but also it's going to give me a certain amount of it will give me what I ask of it, and I hope then it will give me some other things, and once in a while refuse me in a way that I don't even expect. But that moment to me, 15 minutes in, certainly of Evan Hansen, certainly of Hamilton are two shows I can really think were that amazing moment when, beyond the audience being excited to be there, where they're like, yep, I signed my contract. Like, I am now, and you can feel it. In a musical, it's like, by 20 minutes in, either that has happened or not. A play can kind of go all the way. I feel like a musical, I've never been to one where after 17 minutes the audience didn't decide they would stick around. They're not going to leave, but like that their soul was going to stick around. And it's an amazing feeling. When it's a negative, it's the worst feeling in the whole world. And when it's a positive, it's like, they are like, hello, and it's just like, they start making out with this show, and it's amazing. Do you want to show us this piece of a thing on the bottom?
Sure. Can you go back?
Colin, sorry, you're just up and down. Colin Sweat.
So it's so short because it's not a full song, and But it's this story about this one character in this musical is the musical is about this kid who is in somewhere in North Africa, Middle East, and when the country is destroyed, but he doesn't see why anybody would leave their country, and especially he thinks why anyone would leave their country when cinema exists, because in movies you can go everywhere. And so this kid has this sort of thing about him, but he ends up seeing his father, who he has never met and misses very much and longs for, and because he goes to these movies obsessively, he sees his father in a movie as one of the background extras. And he decides that he's going to come to where the movie's set, which is in New York. He's going to come to New York to find his father in a movie set. It's called The Extra. But he joins the group of people fleeing war and very serious things just so he can be with his father and see him in a set. So it's a take on why somebody becomes a refugee, and he is on a boat that's full of these people, the dangerous Mediterranean boats that people take. He's on that, and everyone else is saying their reasons for being going. And this is not his story, his song, but one of the people in the boat has a song, and I just showed it to Colin backstage, and he did.
This is like so new and fresh. It's like you are the luckiest audience in the whole world.
I'm sorry if I'm talking too much about it, but anyway, he is so this character that's on the boat gets to tell why he's leaving, and why he's leaving is very interesting. He wants to go to America. He loves America. He wants to go there, but his country is being bombed by America actively. So it's about that weird love that people have that come from elsewhere for America. So what they do is they schizophrenically almost separate America into two. The America that comes to you and destroys you, and the America that you go to for opportunity. So this is what that song is about. I think. So what he says. The warden won't let me be free. I'm sentenced to this country. My dreams are too big for this place. I just need one suitcase and a ticket to the place that is always okay, even if it is hell when it visits.
So I'm going to have to stop you there because I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
But we'll
just repeat the story.
We're on a different key.
Oh, you want to? Okay, so how do you start? Okay.
That's totally all right.
Oh, that's okay. So, sorry, here we go. The warden won't let me be free. I'm sentenced to this country. My dreams are too big for this place. I just need one suitcase and a ticket to the place that is always okay, even if it is hell when it visits. I wanna come to America. I wanna come to America. I wanna come to America before America comes to me. Before America comes to me. I wanna come to America. I wanna come to America. I wanna come to America before America comes to me. Before America comes to me.
we just opened the curtain for you all. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Who is the character who's singing it? At least in your, I know it's early, but just so it's somebody else on this boat in the Mediterranean.
Yeah, he's a character who he's called Yankee, which is Yankee, but with an Arab Yankee, you know, Yankee. He loves everything America, and so his first song actually on their journey is a rap song in which he he describes himself and about what he loves about America, and he wants to go to the weirdest place. So he says they call me Mr. Yankee, the Arab Yank, and even though he's with his friend, and even though he don't deserve it, I like to thank my best friend. This is Jonas, call him gloomy. The hardships that live inside him just go through me, 'cause I know about a place where all free, and every guy can get a girl, even me. And the song that he's singing is he says, it might sound unlikely, but don't write it off. It welcomes when and all. And this God sent merriment is called Michigan. Michigan. And that's a fact. Ann Arbor to be exact. So
This is the tiniest conversation I've ever had.
but to give you context, it's like a lot of where Arab Americans live in Michigan, right? So he thinks that's where he really wants to go. He's heard everything about it, and so no one dreams of Michigan, really. But he does.
Do you guys ever dream of Michigan?
Always. Always. I love
It's not Santa Fe. I mean,
It's true, there's no musical that has a song where everyone's like, we'll go to Michigan. Just because this is what I warned you all, which is that like you start and you're like at 7:02, we're gonna have 7:06, we're gonna run out of things, and now of course we're running out of time. I think we have one other song that we were gonna look at, which I believe is called If You Remember.
Almost. Do you remember?
Which he didn't.
No, and then you said, if you forget, do you remember? And I remembered if you remember. So, do you remember? Do you want to talk to me a little bit about, I wanted to talk to you about other albums, I wanted to talk to you about Dogfight, but they're going to start bringing the checks and then they'll kick us out of here. So let's look at another song.
Yeah,
I think that's what we're
quickly though,
doing.
that hook is amazing. Like
That
as soon
hook
as
is
he sung
amazing.
the first thing, I'm gonna come to America, I'm gonna come to America. It's like you can sing it back right away. America comes to me. I like I have it in my head already.
And also, just to say, it also tells, the story you set up is the story the song tells in like such a,
So
and again, something I haven't heard, that the term, that you repeat it 3 times and then
it turns.
and then I have this like sort of, is so happy to make it really
the
good.
kid has a future.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
We'll tell Oscar.
I guess so. We wanted to play a song that was from a musical that doesn't exist.
Never happened.
Yeah. We were gonna write a musical that was based on the Peter Pan story, and then everybody started writing Peter Pan musicals. It was like
And to say to everyone, Alice in Wonderland and Peter Pan are like the strange holy grails of musical writing. They both are like, you want to because they have so much great material, and they also they have pitfalls that you didn't see coming.
Yeah. So, just when we were starting to write this, then everybody started announcing their Peter Pan musical. We're like, you know what, we're just gonna put this to the side. We have some people have, cut, songs from musicals. We have a song and a cut musical. That's the way that this worked. It's the trunk musical, I guess.
Yeah, so we wrote one song and sort of we were 2.5 songs, I would say. And we wrote this song and another one and then part of one that was so terrible. And we were working on this actually with Roberto Aguirre-Sacasa, weren't we? Yeah, and it really was that we started to write it and then it was in the subsequent months, it was like, Peter the Starcatcher coming to Broadway, Pan the Musical going to Texas. It was 4 different, Peter Pan Live.
Finding Neverland and
Finding Neverland. Exactly. So we were apparently this wasn't an original idea that we had.
Public domain
exactly.
is the phrase that's important.
Key. So we decided that and we didn't love everything we were writing for it anyway, so we just decided to scrap it. But we did like this one song, and It's called Do You Remember? It's written. Do you want to sort of give it?
Yeah, I guess it's like Peter. It has kind of Peter's singing to a Wendy who's grown up and she's in her 40s, and when you leave Neverland you forget, and he basically is trying to woo her back to come because they had a great love affair when they were there. So it was sort of set in like modern times or whatever, but he's like at her window and she has no recollection of who this guy is.
Oh, that's like super creepy.
I'm gonna say, oh, see, that is like my, and I don't know how to describe it. I always want to call it like some kind of narrative trope, which is there's a movie called, this is so boring, sorry, but there is a movie called that Heaven Can Wait is based on called Make Way for Mr. Jordan, which is about a guy who dies, and it turns out it was before his time and he was supposed to die, and he puts back in the body, but he can't hold on to the body, but he falls in love with a girl, and he's trying to, and he tells her, like, he's about to be put in a new body, but he's like, if you meet someone and you have a connection with them,
Yeah.
and then she runs into the new body, and he doesn't remember her, and she doesn't, but they look at each other, and she's like, you seem familiar, and then he just cries.
Love.
Alright, that was so... I'm gonna just sit here and you guys talk about yourself.
No, yeah, so I mean, like the goal, I guess, if you thought like, what does he need to do? He needs to convince her to like remember him.
And I think this song we wrote pretty much. This was like atypical in terms of process. If we're sort of talking about that tonight, because I think this was pretty much like a lyric entirely.
Yeah.
Was written. I think we wrote it like not even together in the same room. It's like he wrote a lyric, sent it to me. I wrote music. It was barely together at all, I think. So that can work every now and then, though it usually doesn't.
This requires like a lot of falsetto, so forgive me in advance.
Do you remember flying high above the waves, past a dozen amber moons, to an island of lagoons with magic shores and endless caves? Do you remember the sun would stain the sand, and how still the time would stay? Golden arrows point the way to that close but far off land. Tell me you remember. Tell me you remember. Do you remember a pirate's hand of steel? How one day you learn to trust that a pinch of fairy dust isn't make-believe, it's real. Tell me you remember. Tell me you Your ears have tiny holes now. There are lines upon your cheek. You take longer than you used to before you choose to speak. But you still bite your lip whenever you feel nervous. And you twist your hair when you don't know what else to do. I remember that. I remember you. I remember you. Do you remember when at last I stole your kiss? Many children come and go, I forget And once they grow, you're the only one I miss. Close your eyes and see. Somehow remember me.
That's what years of heroin abuse will do. We're out of time, so I want to ask one more question, which is just what's next? What are you looking?
Write down a show.
What are you looking for? Hecklers.
Well, thanks, Dad.
What are you looking forward to in stuff that's coming up for you, and also, or not for you? Just what's
I'm looking forward to this musical that he's writing.
Very much. What do you guys got going on? Anything interesting? No, okay.
No, we're working on
See, he's
Yeah.
gonna be good. You can just stand over there.
Yeah, so we're developing our another musical right now that was very like at the beginning stages, early stages, and then we all have another movie musical that's coming out this Christmas.
Oh my God! Which is
Yeah, it's called The Greatest Showman, and it's kind of crazy because the circus just ended, P.T. Barnum and the Ringling Brothers, but it's about P.T. Barnum and the circus in the 1800s and how it got founded and how that all happened.
That's so fun.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And new songs for Christmas.
Oh yeah, and new songs for A Christmas Story. Thank you.
Okay, and I know we won't take questions from the audience, but if you have suggestions for other things that are working, and Kenan, what's going on? You're working on this musical.
This musical, and which is very beginning stages, and it's a little further along. I have a show, a TV series that I've written for HBO that I'm working on.
Okay.
Basically, this week has just been me feeling bad about myself as people do amazing, cool stuff.
You know, I actually feel that daily. I feel like I don't do anything,
You can shoot yourself in the foot a little more.
yeah, but
Sorry, HBO?
yeah, it's a show. Well, who knows?
Okay, that's not TV.
No, yes, good. So I wrote a series for HBO, and I just shot the pilot for it, and then so I'm writing the season now, and we'll see. I don't know if it'll work out, but we'll see how it goes. It's a drama.
It's a drama, and it's semi-autobiographical. Like there's some. It's like we were talking about a little bit in this summer, so I'm trying to relate.
Yeah, there's some. I mean, I think you have to draw from your life if ever anything is going to be something you care about, and so that's it. That I'm drawing from my life, but it's actually about the immigrant experience as it is today in America.
Just that.
Yes.
That little slide that. On that somber and amazing note, and with my fear of what my phone's going to tell me happened since we got on this stage, because who knows? Gold medals are being given out in strange countries. I want to thank Kenan and Benj and Justin for joining me on stage. This has been amazing. And thank you all for coming tonight. What an incredible week we've had. But these guys especially, so great, so generous. One more thing. I would like to thank the amazing team at the Public Theater who do public forums, Stephanie Ibarra and Drew Broussard, our amazing staff, and everyone here at Joe's Pub for an amazing, amazing week. Thank you.